Waiting all day, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you for being here all day.
Take your time getting organized.
My name is Eric Stevens, and in 2009, after 12 rehabs with my ex-wife, I filed for divorce against her. And then the police report started. 38 police reports in about 10, 11 weeks. She applied for a restraining order. She was asked, has he ever hit you? She said, no, he's not that type of man. He's never raised a hand to me. She's been arrested 3 or 4 times for assaulting me. I was just raised a certain way. You don't hit a woman. First restraining order wasn't approved. Second restraining wasn't approved. Third restraining wasn't approved. And then she hired an attorney. And then the judge that was hearing the first 3, new judge came on. And the judge and the lawyer were talking and shaking hands and laughing about something. And I heard something about golf that weekend. And I sat down and the judge said, this is approved. I said, can I cross-examine her? No, I've approved this. She's afraid for her life. She's in fear for her life. I was arrested for going to my daughter's school on that Friday, June 19th, 2009, where I'd been going every Friday to cook lunch for the school just to see my child. I was cooking lunch for 300 kids for 5 minutes with my kid, and my bond for my first arrest was $750,000 for violating a restraining order. I don't know why. Hope Seeley, she hired to go to my bond hearing to speak on her behalf as she was terrified for her life, and the judge was buddies with Hope Seeley, who I understand now is a judge, and my bond was $750,000. And my first night in prison, my first arrest, the guy who was my cellmate said, yeah, I'm in for $200,000 for shooting my girlfriend in the face. And I hugged my daughter in the recess yard with the teacher's permission on my way into the cafeteria, because I'm such a criminal. I have a recording here for you from between my daughter and myself from the last time that I saw her. I'm going to play you a short segment from this call.
Recording the call now. Hello?
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Good.
I missed you this week.
I miss you very much. I love you.
I love you too, baby. I'm looking forward to Saturday.
That's a call from October of 2011 when my supervised visitation started after not seeing her from, I didn't see her from from June of 2009 until September of 2011. I was told by the guardian ad litem if I did not agree to leave the real estate and just table that, there was $50 million worth of real estate involved in our divorce, and I was told if I did not put that to the side, that I would never see my child. We got divorced, my visitation started. That was one of the calls from between the visitation. 6 weeks later, the guardian ad litem recommended that the visitation stop, and I haven't seen my child since then. And this is a recording from 2 nights ago.
Hello?
Hi, Dad. Can I tell you something?
Sure.
I don't want to always call because I have lots of homework, and sometimes I'm really tired.
Do you want to call earlier in the day then?
No. I don't want to call at all.
Okay, then don't call at all then.
I haven't seen my child in a long time. And last summer, my ex-wife was arrested for capital felony murder for hire when she hired a hitman to kill me. And the state's attorney got involved, and the FBI got involved, and the police got involved, and they checked the cell records, they checked the money transfers, and they got a warrant and they arrested her. And she wrote a check for $1 million and bailed herself out because the business I started in college, she stole from me and moved the money while I was in prison for 5 months and 17 days for a first arrest for hugging my child. So now I'm broke. Literally. She hired UB Santos, she hired Attorney Keene from Ridgeport. She has like this dream legal team, and her trial starts February 7th. DCF stepped in and did a full investigation after her arrest. She's an unfit mother, she's a drug addict, she's causing irreparable harm on a daily basis, emotional neglect, physical neglect, On the confession recording that they made, she's snorting a 40 milligram Oxycontin, and she's asked, how did you pass your drug test from this morning? Well, that's easy. The guardian ad litem and I have an arrangement. When she drug tests me, I get 10 days notice. Please, somebody explain that to me. And I've seen my kid 6 times in 6 years. And now she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. February 7th, her trial starts. And you know what I heard from one of her cousins? She's Iranian. She's not from this country. She's from Kings Point, New York. I heard she's not going to show up for the trial. She's leaving the country. And there's nothing I can do. And I'll never see my kid again. And I have filed 97 motions. I've done 2 appeals. I've done 130 subpoenas. Judge Presley was nice enough to say her attorney suggested that I was insane. And Judge Presley said, I can see that. Why don't we start having you see our psychiatrist so we can determine if you should be locked up in a mental institution for her safety? And ordered the guardian ad litem to investigate me switching therapists. Our guardian ad litem, I've collected 53 examples of perjury on. Not my opinion, through transcripts, which are very expensive, and they're not word for word. And I've talked to Edna Press 24 times. They won't give me the word for word transcripts. They just won't give them to you. One hearing, I was cross-examining my wife, and I said, you're afraid for your life. And I apologize that I'm going over my time. I'll be brief. I said, you're afraid for your life? She said, yes. I said, have you called my office? She said, no. I said, you've never called my office? She said, no. I said, you're aware of what perjury is? She goes, yes. I said, just to be crystal clear, you have never called my office at this number. She said, absolutely not. Her lawyer starts screaming, badgering the witness. I turned to the clerk. Madam Clerk, I'd like to bring out Exhibit H, her home phone records. And I'm going to show you 37 phone calls from her house to my office on June 17th. And my ex-wife turned to the judge and said, oh, I got to change my testimony. And Judge Presley said, that's okay, dear.
Mr. Stevens, I'm going to ask you to kind of wrap it up here.
I'm done.
Okay. May I ask you a question? Where's your daughter now? Who's she with?
With my ex-wife. So
she's bonded out and the child is still with
She still has custody of my child after an arrest for capital felony murder for hire. It's on the judicial website. She's out on $1 million bond. In the 3.5 years that Attorney Bergamini's been on our case, she's supposed to have drug tested her 4 times a year, which is 13 times. She's drug tested her once. Gary Cohen was my attorney. I spent $87,000 with him. That money was gone. Then Gary Cohen was gone. He asked her, can you drug test her? And she said, no, if you want me to drug test her, you'll have to file a motion for that. Buying us the 10 days to give her the 10 days advance notice, even though it's in our settlement agreement. So how can you win in divorce court when you subpoena people, you file motions, you prepare, you work a crap job, you just focus on your child? The last time I did my child's hair, she was 3 years old. And in March, she'll be 9. How is that right?
I can't answer that question. I thank you for sharing that with us. It's, hearing the difference in the phone calls was very telling, and so
It's
I
the same
thank you for
child.
that. Right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
What did she say? She said at 9 years old, she says that she's
Doesn't want to call me anymore.
But she said she's doing homework. She's busy. She's doing homework.
She's homework. She's busy. She's tired. I suggested, do you want to call earlier in the daytime? I was told by my psychiatrist, who's kind of like brought me out from like being depressed, not getting out of bed for 2 years, to not use guilt with her, to not say,
Right.
well, that's not right, just to agree with her. Because I don't want to put any pressure on my daughter.
Sure.
So
She's
if
a
she says, I
victim.
don't want to call, I can say, then I say, I understand, then don't call. She's getting abused emotionally by her mom.
Right.
I don't want her to be by both parents.
Right. And this is very common. Very common.
Right, well, our guardian ad litem to this day thinks that my ex-wife's the better parent.
It's crazy.
Any other questions? Oh, Representative Gonzalez, I thought you were just going to go.
No. Thank you. Who is your guardian ad litem?
Mary Bergamini.
And how much you paid to the guardian ad litem?
I stopped paying her when I realized that she was on the take, when she wasn't being neutral.
But you don't know how much it costs, through the whole case.
$250 an hour. I filed 4 motions for the state rate. They weren't heard. I filed 2 motions to have her removed. They weren't heard. I filed a motion to have Judge Presley removed. That wasn't heard. I filed 17 motions for visitation. They weren't heard. In total, I filed 97 motions that I couldn't afford. None of the motions that I filed have been heard. They're all just open. On our case, we have 320 motions that have been filed. All of theirs have been heard. Mine haven't.
And you said that the judge was who?
Judge Presley.
Presley.
She always sides with the woman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for being here for 13.
In
13.
reference to the young lady that was speaking before, I've spoken to every court clerk's office over the past 2 years to ask that same question: who investigates perjury? And the answer is the court administrator's office.
No, they don't. They turn it over. They say it's the court
I
inspector.
thought the
And I spoke to Betty at the court administrator's office at 230 Capitol Avenue. And she said to me, is it an ongoing case? I said, well, there's nothing happening with it. It's kind of just sitting there, but it's not closed. Well, if it's an ongoing case, we can't meet with you, was her answer.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Not only am I happy that you're here, I'm happy you're alive.
Absolutely. Deborah Pease.